It is Midweek Extra. It is John Gibbons. Thanks for joining us on this beautiful autumn day in Liverpool. The sun is shining. We're all feeling good. Phil's back from Italy. We're going to hear all about that. But I do want to say, in association with Green King, all through the season, thanks so much for them for sponsoring Midweek Extra. And also, they've got a special offer that I wanted to give a shout out early on, all weekend, starting from now. It's 20% off drinks. So it's always 10% off with your app whenever there is sport on the telly, which, let's face it, at the weekends pretty much all the time, especially a weekend like this one. But this weekend it's 20% off. So if you download the Green King Sports app, which is completely free, you can find your nearest pub, you can get down there, and whenever there's sports on the telly, which, like I say, there's loads, Arsenal City Arsenal, on the weekend, there's boxing, Joshua, they've got that. Is the Formula 1 on, Dan?
Yeah, there is.
Singapore. There we go. So there'll be sports on the telly. You'll be unlucky not to sort of get it, and there'll be 20% off drinks. So download the Green King Sports app, get stuck in, find your nearest Green King Sport pub, and watch some sport with cheaper drinks. But we're going to talk first of all about the game on Tuesday, and then we'll look ahead to the game on Saturday, which feels like a semi-big one. I'm going to say not quite the biggest game in 20 years. That Rob Gutman tries to sort of build some of them, but certainly the last two. But do you have a nice time?
Yeah, it was very nice. It was nice. Didn't really rain about when I landed.
That's a little bad, isn't it?
It's been, well, for the summer, yeah.
I know.
For the summer, yeah.
Time,
weather was quite nice,
really.
food was good, very chilled out. One of my mates lives there, so it's basically I don't have to think about anything, just go, where are we going? Yeah. It's like, anyway, well, we'll go here, and then we went there, and then we went there, and then we went there, then we were in the ground. Like, to the point where we had a pizza next to the ground, hour before kick-off.
Yeah.
Which... I would never been able to just think of that off my own back and sort it off my own back. Whereas we walked in, he ordered a table, I'd reserved a table, and sat down, sound 20-minute walk to the ground, in bang on kickoff.
Absolutely
perfect. Yeah.
You tours well, Phil.
To be fair, I didn't nail it. I was just along for the ride.
You as a collective.
Yeah.
You nailed it. It
was like having a tour guide of Milan every time we played there. It's fantastic.
And which is a lot.
Yeah.
And fair play, our record there is phenomenal.
It is.
You like stats, Josh. 4 wins out of 4.
Yeah, boss.
It'd be tough to beat that.
I didn't know that, actually. Yeah. I didn't know that we had
2008 as well, wasn't it?
And there's
three recent ones.
Torres scored. It was brilliant.
Yeah, beast.
Yeah, it's good. It's quite a ground as a visual. I feel like we've been doing a farewell tour like Elton John.
It's not as good when you're in it.
It does need knockdown. We went in the game when we wore the yellow kit, and Nat Phillips and Tyler Morton and that played in the Milan, and it was at a time in COVID where if one person tested positive for Omicron on the way back, this feels like
on your flight, by the way,
just on the plane, then you all had to isolate for 2 weeks, and with the time it was, that would have included Christmas and my birthday.
It's tense,
but everyone went anyway because it was like, they're going to knock it down. We're only going to get one chance. Turns out we played there every fucking 6 weeks.
We also played there 2 months. We literally played there 2 months later.
Yeah,
2 months.
Beat them as well. Beat them all.
From the outside, it's like a spaceship, but from 3,000 years ago. Which I mean, as a compliment. But inside,
it looks impressive. Horrendous. Inside, like it looks impressive. Like I took a panoramic of the ground when it was empty, and it looked boss.
Get that on our social, Jim.
But then if you go to the toilet at half time...
the toilet's the worst toilet you've ever seen.
That's not good. If you want to drink, not really happening.
Yeah.
There's like basically 2 toilets for the whole away end, which is 4,000 people.
You'd rather need a shit at Glastonbury than in a San Siro.
Yeah. There's crowd. You can only crouch as well. You can't sit. It's a full-on hole in the ground, the actual cubicle.
Yeah, so
there's a strong argument for it to be replaced. I think it's fair to say.
It needs modernisation at least, and maybe just flattening. Fair play, but the team played well. Early jitters aside, Josh, they stuck to their task, played some good stuff. I a big fan of set piece goals, got 2 of them, and a good solid start.
Yeah, well, I think the start in particular was a bit mad. I think Simicast decided to run away from home, didn't he? I don't know where.
Are you blaming him?
Well, it's probably a collective thing. To be honest, I haven't watched it back, actually, the goal. So, is it not Simicast?
Well, no, I mean, it's a multitude. I mean, he's not great, but basically we're pressing madly high. So Gakpo goes, so the whole left side's empty. So he goes up to that. If he does the biggest move, but then Verge goes.
Yeah, Van Dijk went and then Konate just sort of told Pulisic to have a shot.
Yeah.
It felt a bit like they were really keen to put Saturday right. And were far too keen away from home in a big ground in Europe.
I'd have liked it just a back four, first five. Just have a back four.
Yeah.
No one get off.
But they really weren't set on that at all. And they recovered from it fair enough, but it felt like they were maybe too keen early doors.
It felt like Simicast was really overcompensating whatever happened ahead of him. It felt like he was kind of the last man to make himself look really, really bad as a means of saving the situation. But beyond that, as you say, Liverpool were spot on and really dominant. I think we were patient as well after the goal we conceded, which certainly wasn't the case a couple of days earlier against Forest. And yeah, just I mean, it's nice to get them set piece goals every now and then. Without them, it might have been a little bit of a different story. But even just generally speaking, the game overall, I thought everyone was spot on. But we had loads of standout performers and that, so good start.
When I say I like set-piece goals, I'm not just like, just bang into them for aesthetically. I just think...
Feel like 3 goals.
Yeah, they do. And also, they could change matches. And if you get one, and, I always hop back to the 13-14 season, the number of times we opened the scoring with the set-piece. But 45 of them would open us. And then you sort of get to going and you can start from there. And I think we've been a bit rubbish at set-pieces so far this season. So it was nice to get a couple of them, and that helped us get on top of them from there. We've just let our class show.
Well, the thing with them is you don't need to be playing well to score a set piece. You just need a well-delivered ball, a weakness from them, or something really good from one of your players, and you've scored. And I think both of the first two were poor from them as much as anything. Like, Trent's whipped the ball in at no pace whatsoever. Like, to call it whipped is probably not quite right, because it's a really floaty one that should probably never be a goal. Like, the goalkeeper should be emptying that, but I think he probably only had one leg at this point, didn't he? And then the second one, I can't believe how close Van Dijk is to the goal when he actually manages to head it under not much pressure. Like, he's 3.5, 4 yards out.
I thought Canate was really close as well.
Yeah, both of them were. It was just a bit. I think that one was a little bit different because it was the free kick that was sort of 10, 15 yards in, so I can sort of let them off with that a little bit. But the second one, it was like, how's he managed to head it that close? But even taking them away and saying you don't need to play well or whatever to get pieces, we've also hit the bar twice in the first half. There's the one where Jota should probably square it. I mean, in fairness, he probably should finish it, but he could have squared it. There was just loads of chances. We were really good. I mean, one of the corners comes from a shot from, I think it was Salah being pushed on the post by the keeper.
Gakpo has one. Gakpo has whistle as well.
Gakpo has a couple. I think he has 2 or 3 shots on target first half. Gakpo like cutting in.
Towards the end, he really gets hold of well. Yeah,
catches that well. Yeah.
It was just a very good performance. It was. I think the only thing that we did wrong, I thought, I've only seen the first goal in the ground. It basically just looked like Shimaka's backed himself and got it wrong, and it felt like that was broadly the only thing wrong with the performance to me. And we've rectified that, and even he had about 26 shots in the end. And I mean, I would have. It was one of those where I've seen one of them back, and there's one the sort of curly one that goes past the post at the time. I was like, why Salah on the back post? And I've seen it again. I'm a bit like, there's nothing there. But we just a very good performance. It was a good recovery from Saturday in a type of game that I feel like probably a bit easier for Liverpool than Saturday in a sort of style.
Yeah. Chibika's best effort, by the way, was right foot from 35 yards, which is mad. That was his.
It was funny.
The closest that he got.
Every shot, it was like every shot he had, Salah just kind of gave him that kind of like like that Gerrard stare, as if to say, "What are you doing?" There
was a point when he'd had more shots than them.
Yeah,
which was really funny. After about 70 minutes, he had 4 shots and they'd had 3.
I think he ended up having one more after that as well. So what did you put it down to, Dan? The better level of performance? Do you think it was a determination to put things right? Do you think it was the personnel changes that they made? Do you think it was, like Phil said, stylistically it helped us a little bit? Do you think it's us lot not being there doing their heads in, or all the above?
I think it probably helps that when there's like an early error made, 50,000 people aren't kicking off over it, as was the case on Saturday.
Or telling you to get it forward. That's one I heard a bit of on Saturday as well.
Yeah, I think it also helped that they were crap. I think Nottingham Forest might just be a better team.
Someone needs to tell Arne Slot, by the way, because he's decided Forest are shite. And he's made up with this Milan win.
I mean, they're mid-table in Serie A anyway, and I found it amazing the way that he played. Really bad from set pieces anyway, and I think Liverpool have probably identified that, because I don't think either of the balls were like anything magnificent. They were played in. Crosses. The movement, I mean, Van Dijk did well to just push Reinders away, I suppose, but it wasn't like they were running from back post to front and dodging a couple on the way. It was fairly basic.
Van Dijk looked like a man who knew he was going to score. Like when you show the replay, he's smiling. He's like, here we go.
I think they'd done the homework on that and thought we don't have to be.
He was almost like Giddy, could control himself.
Good way of summing their performance up. One of my mates found out that Rupert Loftus-Cheek plays for Milan when he went off as a sub.
But
he's far away.
The space they gave them in midfield as well, and I think that they're all quite decent players. Like Reinders looked a good player in the summer for the Netherlands. I think Fofana is a good player, but it just felt like any time McAllister or Szoboszlai had the ball, there was no one really within 10 yards of them. And if you wanted to like spray it wide quite quickly, they were able to, and no one's like close to Gakpo. If you wanted to carry it, no one's really harrying them. I thought that they looked really awful, and I was seeing on the way, and there's talk that Fonseca might be sacked by the weekend.
Yeah,
and one of the people that I saw linked with the job was David Moyes.
Brilliant.
And it specifically said, so it said
we'll
like
pay money for this to happen. By the way, this
it said Maurizio Sarri, so a couple of other people, and then it said David Moyes has been offered to the club. And I thought, what's happened there is Moyes rang the general inquiries line. He's been put through to the shop, then the tickets office. He's eventually got through and got, I will come over if you want.
That's brilliant. It's almost a shame that they're not coming to Anfield. Now imagine Moyes bringing Milan to Anfield. That'd be something else.
But yeah, them being really bad, I thought helped. Liverpool also just made smarter decisions, and it wasn't necessarily the best one every single time. But on Saturday, it was the worst one every single time. So if you just even make them better by half, you're going to look like a significantly better team. Like Liverpool could have made probably 7 or 8 really good chances at the weekend if when someone, say Salah, had 4 options in front of him, he hadn't chosen objectively the worst one. So I think just by being a bit calmer and playing away probably does help with that. They were able to make better decisions, relax a bit more, especially once they'd scored the first goal and seeing that it was probably quite easy. And they'd made a couple of chances before that as well, and they think Salah had hit the bar once by that point. I think it's then quite easy to look at each other and say, we'll be all right here if we just keep doing the basics right. These will give us loads of space.
I thought Gakpo made a difference in terms of his performance. I think he's got a good level of control, Josh, that suits certain games. I don't think it's necessarily all of them, but I think they said it helps that he played well, and maybe if he doesn't play well, I'm saying he's not the right man for the occasion. But I just think his style of playing and how he is as a footballer, I thought helped us give us that control away from home, rather than someone like a Diaz who is just a little bit more erratic, I guess, in his style.
Yeah, I thought it was arguably Gakpo's best half in a Liverpool shirt, to be honest. I tweeted that at the break. It just felt like he was just far more dynamic, I felt, than usual. I think sometimes the game passes him by, sometimes he disappears and he's a bit of a passenger in that, but I felt like he was really involved, and whenever he was on the ball, he was doing stuff that matters. You know, he was kind of being brave, sticking his chest out and that, and he almost played like he was a bit angry. And I was trying to work out whether that was
determination to grab the opportunity, at least, because he was the opposite of what you described there when he came on at the weekend, but obviously he wasn't the only one.
Yeah, well, there was shades in his first season, certainly his first full season, of him just coming across a bit too nice for me, where, like, you know, he's like, what is he, 6'3" or something like that, and he's getting just thrown off the ball and stuff like that. And in this game, he put himself about a lot more and seemed to be, I don't know if it's just a beard, mate, to be honest. I don't know if it's just that had an impact on it, but get
yourself a beard, Phil. You're fucking knocking people over like Richard Ashcroft.
But yeah, I thought he was really good. I was impressed, and I hope that continues to be. I was quite surprised he came off so early, though, considering he's not played that many minutes and he was playing really well.
I was surprised Diaz came on.
Yeah,
I thought the obvious thing was to just give Gakpo 90.
Yeah,
and give Diaz a
maybe
rest.
Gakpo will play at the weekend.
I think Slot did say Gakpo played, I think, 2 90s for the Netherlands.
True, yeah.
So maybe that's why or something, but really good, yeah.
I think his frame is interesting. I think when he plays well, you feel like he's using his height and his natural athleticism more than when he's not playing well, and he seems quite meek. And that doesn't mean like going up for headers loads or necessarily shrugging people off, but when he set that one up for Szoboszlai and he kind of deliberately slowed the ball down as Pavlovic came to him. Pavlovic is like 6'3", 6'4", and dead wide, and then is able to knock it past him and have the confidence that he's not going to be able to shoulder barge me out the way here. I think when he sort of looks like he feels comfortable in his own body, he seems like he plays an awful lot better, and I thought he looked like that the other night.
Yeah, there was times, I think people touch on his ball carrying ability, like his ability to get the ball and really drive and that. But again, it feels like in previous seasons, like whenever he's done that, he ends up, the best we end up getting from it is always just a foul, because he ends up getting just slightly nudged over or something like that. He hits the deck and then we get a foul from it or something. But it feels like in this game, he was just riding that contact and just you're staying on his feet and you know, keeping going, keeping the transition going and stuff. So hopefully he keeps it going, because I was impressed by how he performed. Like, it's the best I've seen him play in a long time. In a red shirt, that is. Usually plays well for the Netherlands, like.
Yeah, I thought it was probably his best game for Liverpool in an all-round manner. He looked more comfortable with what he was doing. Like the left wing version of him, it was the Holland left wing version of him. Whereas he's done a bit of left wing for Liverpool, he's done a bit of centre forward for Liverpool, and I've never felt like it under the previous manager. I never felt like either of them were for him. I think Diaz is doing a slightly different thing this season, and I think it's probably more what he wants to do as well. And like the way he's a little bit deeper, he can cut inside and have that shot, which you saw him do plenty of times over the summer, and that just sort of feels like that's his game. I mean, we signed, that's basically the player we signed ultimately, and I think I found the way he was used really peculiar, because we signed him as something, and then decided to play him basically as a different thing, and it just didn't. It
almost felt like they were trying to turn him into Firmino,
which I just wasn't. I wasn't seeing.
Yeah.
I do think that was the plan. That seems to be, because at the time we were really getting done, cut open right through the middle, and we didn't have Bobby because he was either left or he was injured.
His last few months he was basically quite injured.
Yeah, he was crocked, and the alternative was Nunes, who's a completely different kind of player. So we signed Cody, and then he comes in and immediately starts playing as this false nine, so we can use the same, you know, kind of controlling of the middle that we'd used throughout Liverpool's peak under Klopp. But I do think the profile of him was just generally probably a little bit off. I think we painted him, and this is including me, as a player who can do everything. But I think he's maybe just the complete opposite, in the sense that he's maybe just, you know, a specialist who you need to tell specifically this is what you do type thing. I don't think he's one of them plug and play fellas who you can play anywhere and he'll do like a Bernardo Silva and just deliver. I don't think he's like that. I think he wants to know what he's doing every week.
As an example, I could see Diaz doing a little bit on the right as well.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he could do the thing on the right.
Yeah, no, I agree. And same with Jota. I think Jota's this kind of multifaceted player, multifaceted forward who you can just kind of play anywhere. But I think Gakpo was signed as that. But it's just proved not to be the case. I think he wants the left and definitely seems to play better when he's over there.
The midfield, thrives again. I think it is fair to say, Dan. There was a bit of space. I know Shearer on the co-coms was sort of talking about there was a bit of space for them sort of early, but they seemed to sort of work it out between them. I mean, it's a man of the match performance from Gravenberch. I saw Dave Lynch tweeting after the game that he's just running out of superlatives to use the championship manager phrase for him, but he is just playing so well. And I thought, in particular, how they worked it out in midfield was a lot down to him. Second half, he seemed to be winning things by anticipation and by positioning rather than, tackles. And we've seen he can do that because of his frame and his long legs and stuff like that. But it was his reading of the game second half that really impressed me. We know he's got the physical attributes. We know he's a footballer and an athlete. But I thought he almost surprised me as someone who's really enjoyed him, watching him in terms of just how well he read that game second half, and he was just seemed to be like half a step or a step ahead of them all the time.
Obviously, he's played the role really well in all of the games so far, including at the weekend, where I think he was one of very few players that played relatively well. But I think this was the first one where it included like every facet of what you'd want from the player that's there. In that, towards the end of the game, there was the one where he covered for Konate, sprinted back from like the halfway line. He was behind the man, I think, when the run started, got in, made the block, and they all give him the big pat on the back. But also, he was carrying the ball forward 15, 20 yards sometimes towards the final third. He was playing longer passes. He was very resistant to like their press as the game went on. Sometimes two of them would try and get to him, and he would just kind of like wiggle his way through the middle and get Liverpool out. He was playing long balls to Gakpo a couple of times towards the left-hand side. It felt like this is all of the skills that you would look for. And so far in different games, like Brentford and Ipswich, for example, you've seen the front-footedness because Liverpool haven't really been tested going backwards all that much. Same with United, really. And then the other day against Forest, probably a little bit more of the defensive stuff, certainly in the second half when they were doing the breaks and the shape is a bit mad. But not quite the whole thing together, just because the opposition or the nature of the game hasn't quite demanded it. I think the one the other night did. So it was probably even more encouraging than the other ones, and especially given the fact that I know that I've criticised them and said that I don't actually think they're a very good team, but it's still a really big ground. There's still an atmosphere there. I think there's still a level of intimidation that it's the first game when you come to play AC Milan away for Liverpool, especially when it's a position that you've not started in that kind of level of game before. Yeah. And I thought he handled both the pressure that naturally comes with that, but also that early setback really well. He's always seemed very naturally calm, but I think that became a real asset to him there. And Szoboszlai and McAllister were both great as well as the game went on, but I thought he was the first in that first kind of 15, 20 minutes or so who kind of got a grip of himself after the early concession, and just set a tone of we're going to be all right here as long as we're calm on the ball and do things efficiently.
Yeah, it was the game that I think when there was talk of him playing that position sort of 6 weeks ago, it was the type of game that people thought would be not necessarily a problem, but the challenge where you've got to go away from home, you've got to win the ball against good players, and you've got to sort of be more of a defensive one, because like Saturday, for example, it was mostly about getting the ball to the right people at the right time in the right places, whereas yesterday it was about stopping them. And the one you referenced where he gets back the other side of the lad when Konate is just slightly out of position and he wins the ball back brilliant. And there were so many examples of that. I mean, his ability to sort of read passes and dangle that long leg out and win the ball and get Liverpool off on the attack, whether he's passing the ball or he's carrying the ball. I thought his vertical passing was really good. There was a really interesting thing that we were doing when we had the ball, and it was we were sending either Szoboszlai or Trent basically as far wide as you could possibly get, as like a weird decoy. And it was sort of like everything about you was like, oh, that man's in loads of space, pass to him, and they'd look to do it, and then they just wouldn't do it. And then eventually Milan would sort of think, well, he must be going there now, switch off, and all of a sudden there was a gap and they just played through the middle of them. It happened managed to get through the middle by this maybe 4 or 5 times in the first half, and it was really interesting how they did it. But you've got to have that ability to be able to play that pass, because there's an element of daring about it, trying to thread two fellas, because if he gets it wrong, all of a sudden there's 2 fellas running at him, and then they're probably getting past him and then they'll at the defence. And he was so good at doing it, and McAllister was doing it as well. Everything about it just worked, and I thought he was superb. The midfield worked really well, and it was just a good all-round performance.
I think one of them as well, the receiver was Gravenberch, if you remember that one. I don't know, Van Dijk maybe plays the pass. It's right between 2 AC Milan players. Gravenberch receives the ball on the half turn, turns really quickly, and then lays it off to McAllister or something, and then we get an attack from there. But so he's not only the kind of player that can do the passes, but he can do the receiving as well in any kind of space.
Just after the third goal as well.
Yeah. It was honestly a very, very good performance from him, and I think the defensive end though is what surprised me the most. Like, I really didn't think he had that in him, to be honest, to think with the defensive mind like that. I thought he was much more of an expressive, free-flowing player who you almost need to carry to a certain extent defensively, but his ability to read where the ball was going consistently for the whole game, but specifically in the second half, was amazing, to be honest. And the stuff Dan mentioned before as well, like the complete stuff where he's carrying the ball and he's playing long passes and he's gliding and things like that. I think if you be in the team 6, you just, for the most part, need to be good at the simple stuff, and you need to know when to keep it simple and that. And I think his decision making with that as well is a lot better. Just simple, 5-yard passes when it's necessary and things, and it doesn't always have to be elaborate. So it feels like he's been doing this role, getting to grips with this role now for a lot longer than, what is it, 5 games or something like that now. It feels like you'd think he's been doing it for at least 6 months by now, judging by his performances. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a stat. I think he made 7 interceptions.
Yeah.
No Liverpool players made more in a single Champions League game since the start of the 16-17 season at least, which to me says that's when they started collecting that statistic. So because we weren't in the Champions League that season, I don't think, were we? So
Yeah.
well,
yeah.
we're going back a long way, like 5 of them in the opposition half as well.
We definitely didn't do that 14-15.
But
I'm telling you now.
But that also means that Fabinho didn't do it when Fabinho was at the top of his game.
Yeah.
So that
It
sort of says a lot about what he's doing.
It did feel very Fabinho though, didn't it? When he was reading the plays and he was intercepting the ball before it got to the man. No, not tackles, but the interception side. That felt very Fabinho to me.
No, 100%. Because I remember watching Henderson there and thinking he's trying his best, but he's always reactive, wasn't he? Henderson when he was playing as a 6, I thought he had some good games there. Don't get me wrong, but he always felt like he was trying to put a fire out, whereas Gravenberch's just taking the matches off them. Do you know what I mean? It's
sort of like watching a tennis player who knew where the next shot was going from the player, as opposed to a tennis player who was like,
mine, innit? What was I banging on about matches?
as opposed to going, well, that's where the ball's going, so I'm going there.
Yeah.
Liverpool are playing Real Madrid in 2 months at home in the Champions League, and I think when that draw was made, or certainly before the start of the season, people would have been worried about, like, Bellingham's the runner there, and maybe Valverde and Mbappe might drop deep a bit, and who on earth is going to play that position? I don't think, I'm not saying he's going to be man of the match in that game, but I don't think anyone would be worried if and when, in all likelihood, he is named as the starter there in that match.
Plus Mbappe's shite now, have you seen?
Got about 27 left wingers, so maybe we just need to play Trent and Conor Bradley and then
they'll
wait
keep
from
getting
there.
each other's way, don't they?
Yeah.
Mbappe and a few others holding hands out there. Nice to see Szoboszlai get his goal. I like the fact that the manager went, he needs to score more. He goes, okay. It'd be good to be that good at football that you can just go.
It looked very like he'd missed it from up on
I
high.
think Salah thought he missed it.
I was like, he's not missed that, and then no.
Salah was like, can I tell someone off? He's just scored, because if I can, I'm going.
It was like practically like thigh high when he hit it, though, wasn't it? I suppose it wasn't an easy finish, even though there was effectively no goalkeeper to be there. It was still,
I've got to kick that in.
Yeah,
it's just
and he did.
He did. Yeah, absolutely. But nice to see him get his goal. It leaves us in a good position, Josh, in the group, in this big, hefty group. We've had 12 games so far. There's obviously more games tonight. You might have seen the results for that, but I think the results themselves, looking at it, are quite interesting. You'll be telling me you can't look into too much of it, a small sample, but of 12 games so far, there's only been 2 draws. I don't think there's going to be a lot of draws. I think teams are going to go out to win, and I think I'm sort of predicting that'll happen. But there's only 3 away teams who win, and we're one of them. And the other 2, you're looking at it. I watched bits of Villa, Young Boys, and Young Boys look dreadful.
Bottom of the Swiss League,
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, and then they looked it.
Mad.
They look like the worst Swiss footballers I've ever seen in my life. Sort of watching them, and I think the other team, I think Club Brugge, Dortmund with it, which you sort of expecting. So I'm going to say it's the most impressive away win. But there's only 3 of the 12 games, and so if you're looking at what's likely to be needed, Josh, I think getting a good away win under our belts early. And not everyone can beat Milan teams and all that. Then I think it's good. I'm pleased. Thumbs up.
Yeah, same. I think we'll be fine. Like, I think it's something that have to go dramatically wrong to not qualify. To be honest,
even top 8.
Well, it's top 8, isn't it? When we were out a couple of weeks ago, weren't we? We were talking about who were going to be the automatic 8. And if you actually think about it, it's there's not a lot in there, as like givens. Like, I think Liverpool are arguably a given for me.
Do you put City, Arsenal, Real Madrid?
Yeah. I would say Barcelona, based on how they're playing at the minute.
Top of the league, aren't they?
Yeah. Barcelona probably as well. I think Leverkusen, we said.
It's difficult, though, because once these teams start, if they win 5 games, it means that others who up there probably haven't as well, though. It's dead. It's like...
By the time you get to the 7th game week, I think only like 2 sides will actually be guaranteed to finish in the top 8. So it does mean that, we then play PSV away, and I saw PSV the other night and they looked awful. So maybe by that point you'll be saying, it should be fine, and maybe we only need a point or whatever. But I don't think many teams will be guaranteed anything much before the end anyway.
I think the PSG scored a last-minute winner last night, didn't they?
Yeah.
And I think there was a world where if they hadn't scored, there was only one of them or City who could possibly get more than 19 points, I think.
Because they're going to play each other.
And if we're saying it's 15 to
finish in the top 8, probably.
It doesn't take that much to knock you down. PSG particularly probably played their easiest game last night and they just won.
Yeah.
So,
but I think what it means for Liverpool now is that if they win their home games,
Even,
I know
honest,
that you'd say they're more likely to go and win
I think
in
if
PSV than Real Madrid.
if you win 3 of them and beat one of you and win one of your away games, you're probably through.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just to get through, I think they probably only need to win
Through the
maybe
AC
2 more and get a draw
to
get to finish in the 24.
I don't even think it's that many. They reckon it's about 8 points. They reckon.
I was thinking 9 or 10.
Yeah, they reckon.
Yeah.
There's thought that it's about 8 points to get into that 24th.
Especially-
We're talking to get 24th, and you don't want 24th because it makes you have to play the team who were 9th, and bear in mind there's 18 teams in pot 1
It
and
doesn't
pot 2.
work like that. I thought
No,
it was
it
that.
does.
It's like I think there's a mini draw, and
That's
it's
the
9th or 10th can play. Is it not that?
That's the one after.
Okay.
9th play 24th, and then
Okay, I'm glad
so
it's
on.
that. It's easy to figure out.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, figure out where you go.
Then
and
it
how you
gets
go.
a
But
bit.
working
It
with
gets
the
a
top 8,
bit.
so it's fine.
Then it gets a bit like a Wimbledon draw when it's not necessarily like
You play the winners of this tie
1 and
kind
2
of
are on
thing.
the opposite
Okay,
side,
okay.
and then they put the other teams in there
Yeah.
in some order.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll start with you then, Josh. Do you want to win? Do you always want to win? You feel stupid, you pick it up, and then you say, yeah, but if we were 4 wins from 4, you were saying, oh, it's a big one with Arsenal City playing it, what opportunity. So you always want to win your home games, but you do feel that having, what happens also last Saturday, it does feel like a sort of an extra big win if they can get it, which they should, because it's Bournemouth at home, and Arne Slot decided everyone from 8th down straight.
Yeah, he seems to have done that. Yeah, and it's the kind of game that I mean, he's right. Like you should realistically be winning these games at a canter almost.
He went, it's not quite a disgrace, which made me think he was thinking it is a disgrace, but I don't want to.
I can't be disrespectful to Nottingham Forest, but I'm going to be quite disrespectful.
Maybe disgrace is pushing it, but what's one down from disgrace?
Yeah, he pretty much said after the Milan game, I can't believe we didn't beat Forest.
Yeah.
And he pretty much said it like that. Like,
I feel like ringing him and going, it's all right, you're doing all right, decent.
Cheer them up when they come 8th and get into the Conference League or something.
maybe.
Well, I sort of didn't know how to feel about it, because at the same time, it's like good that he's just fronting it and saying we absolutely should have fucking beat them, because that is true, they should have. But at the same time, they've got players that could play in the European Cup.
Yeah.
And pretty much every team in the Premier League, because of the resources they've got, has got players who are playing international football regularly and are certainly capable of probably playing in the Europa League.
Is there any difference between Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Morgan Gibbs-White, for example?
Morgan
Not
Gibbs-White
hugely,
is arguably one of the best players in the Eredivisie. Like, if not
exactly.
the best player
So
in the Eredivisie.
I think it's a bit like, well, you have got to have a plan for each of these teams specifically. You can't just expect to roll up and go, well, they're in the bottom half, so we'll just play and we'll beat them.
Yeah.
And that's a significant difference from where they've come from as a staff, I think. Like, even when you play Southampton, they've got a way of playing. They've been doing it for 2 years and they look rubbish so far, but they've got players who've scored Premier League goals and have been good. So I didn't really know what to think of it, because I was like, well, you are shit, but you did lose. And then maybe we should have known how to attack them a bit more.
I think part of that might have been part of the issue, though, is he's just gone, oh, well, we're better than these, we'll be all right, and we'll just play our normal football, and being better will work. And I think it's probably one of the harder things for a manager to overcome, I think, coming to this league, that kind of team and that kind of setup, because he might well be used to, teams defending and stuff, but in the Eredivisie, for example, the standard of
it's not bringing a Langer and Hudson-Odoi off the bench on 60.
Exactly, like arguably 2 players who would be in their best 11 anyway, and they had a game plan. They did very well. They achieved what they were going to, but it just felt a bit like, almost like it was one of those where it's a good thing to happen, because I think it was probably going to happen at some point, so may as well get it out the way early, and he can look at it and go, all right, okay, I can learn from that now, because there's a world where we score a set piece after 5. Like,
but if he thinks the shite, is he learning?
Absolutely. Well,
yeah,
fair point.
That's a fair point. He won't think it now. Do you know what I mean? He should have a bit more respect for him now.
Well, you say that, but...
Yeah, but we could have had that game against Brentford if we don't score a counter-attack after 10 minutes in theory, and then Nottingham Forest was all right because we've learned from Brentford that we can't just do X, Y, or Z. So, all that being said, I'm not sure that Bournemouth have got the players within their midfield to do quite the same thing. They've got pace on the break, but they haven't really got 3 units who can play in midfield and make it hard, and then really strong fullbacks.
They've scored and less so far as well,
Yeah.
aren't they? I think they do miss Solanke.
Like in terms of Ola was excellent. I'm not quite sure that Bournemouth's right back is shutting down Diaz in quite the same way. I'm not sure what Elliot Anderson's doing is possibly being replicated by a Bournemouth player. They've got lots of good players. I just don't think stylistically they're closely matched to that team, and that should probably be a little bit easier for us in that respect.
And Liverpool can't be any worse.
No, there is that too. Like, it was the perfect
it's
storm.
Almost impossible.
We were terrible. They had a good plan, and even then, the goalkeeper wasn't exactly under threat, was he? It was one fantastic goal from 20 yards. Like, as far as I'm concerned, that is the most 0-0 game of football Liverpool have been involved in at Anfield for years.
Yeah.
And I've seen that game end 0-0 a number of times, like going back 20 years. Like that, the first half reminded me of Benitez 06-07 when you just be nil. I think we were 0-0 at 9. I think we were 0-0 at half time. It was like 9 games that season, or something utterly ridiculous. And then sometimes you came out after half time and sorted it, and then sometimes you just drew 0-0 because you just couldn't quite work them out, and you had an off day. But it was the same, but we got sucker punched. So there's you just got to work around what the problem was, and it'll be fine. I think you've seen enough to know that it'll be fine.
I think the first shot was the 55th minute.
Yeah, it was.
So, you know, that captures, if anything, that we're not interested in scoring here. We're just interested in containing you. And I think Elanga and Hudson-Odoi mixed that up for them a little bit, where he posed a bit of a threat on the break. I think Bournemouth, in comparison, will pose a bit more of a threat than Forest, but I don't think they'll be able to soak pressure as well. Like that Milenkovic centre half for Forest, he's like 6'9" or something, mate. Really good in the air, and that's so. And
he
was a point
a few months ago, he was playing in a European final.
Yeah,
Fiorentina as well. They've all got very good standard players, and you can't just rock up and go, "Oh, we'll just play the way we play, and it'll be fine."
Forrest had someone on the bench who's the tallest man I've seen at Anfield. Like, I don't know who he was, but he was just absolutely massive. Maybe he was a third choice goalie or something, I don't know, but I couldn't believe how tall he was.
Pantilimon fella's not still there, is he? Because he was tall. The Man City goalkeeper who went there.
Yeah, he was 6'9",
about,
I think.
I think he was, yeah.
This guy was up there. It was almost like a basketball player had gone to watch, and they put him in a trackie. Like, honestly, he was just unbelievable. But that's by the by. Really isn't relevant. Don't clip that bit, Jimmy. I thought he was writing it down.
Great shot, this. I love this. Online.
Who was that tall fella?
Submit this for the awards. Caption that, local man sees tall.
Honestly, okay, look how tall he is. Who's a
Sounds like something from The Simpsons.
Honestly, he was. Yeah. Like the fella with no, this is before the game. Yeah, the fella with the big hand who can write all the stuff on it. You picking the same team, Dan, or you picking Diaz back? You probably pick Robbo back. Oh well, yeah. I'm not going to put words in your mouth. You tell me.
I'd play Robertson again. I'd maybe play Kwanzaa, or maybe Kwanzaa could do West Ham. I think it is the point where you have to start picking the odd game, especially for the players who are maybe a bit more prone to injury than others. So I think soon I would not play Jota at some point. Maybe this weekend. Maybe give Núñez a go and just see what happens. And I think probably Jones for McAllister at some point as well. I'm not saying in this one, probably not this one, but I think these will be the things that they're planning, and will happen at some point. But I would think no more than, like, said it before the Forest game, but like no more than 3, one in each area of the pitch probably. So maybe the left back changes, maybe one centre mid and maybe one of the forwards, and that would be about it. So maybe Gakpo, Núñez and Salah. Maybe same midfield 3, maybe just Robertson for Tsimikas, and that would be about it. And then Konate gets his rest against West Ham. Maybe McAllister does as well. I mean, they're probably quite a bit more than that. Alexander-Arnold for Bradley as well, but I would imagine no more than like 3 max for this.
But we don't know how he's going to approach the League Cup, because it's a new manager, it's a new sort of tournament for him. So I think we'll get some clues from that. If he goes same again or close to same again, I'd argue Diaz for Gakpo and Robertson for Tsimikas is pretty close to same again, isn't it? You just sort of bring your lads back in. So if he picks any 11 from 12 or 13, whether you count Tsimikas or not, then I think the suggestion is he'll be pretty wholesale against West Ham. But if he does a little bit more of the kind of thing that Dan's describing there, which is looking at maybe Curtis Jones coming in, looking at Núñez, then would maybe suggest that he might be sort of 2 or 3 sort of each game, and everyone takes the turn.
Yeah, well, I was going through him, while Dan was speaking, I was like, oh, do that. And I got to like 5, and I was like, well, I just don't think he's going to make 5 changes. I think there's a point where he possibly should, because I think we're getting to the point now where there's players who haven't started a league game at all this season, and at some point they're going to need to, and you can't just expect them to turn up and play. I remember, like, Oxlade-Chamberlain as an example, he'd come on as a sub and then he'd start a game, and then people would be like, well, he was terrible, and it's like, well, he hasn't played it, he hasn't started and played in a proper football match for a month, and all of a sudden he's expected to just slot in and be brilliant. There's a lot of players in that position. I think I'm intrigued by the load management thing, because he's come in with a big part of big thing he's coming with is like how he can manage the players well. So I think there's method to it. Like there's but I just don't know what the method is. There's a lot of stuff where it's like, oh well, he doesn't fancy this play, doesn't fancy this play, doesn't fancy this play. And I'm just not quite sure it's just like as simple as that. Like as an example, there's a lot of people who are saying he doesn't fancy Nunes and Nunes is done or whatever. But at the same time, when you see videos of Nunes, he looks quite happy. Whereas if he didn't fancy him and he was sort of freezing him out, he's a man who is very emotional, and you're very aware when he is unhappy, which makes me think there's a plan in place that we'll see over the next sort of month or two, and it'll all come together and we'll get a better grip of what's going on. But it wouldn't shock me if we see a broadly similar team to last Saturday, then 11 changes, and we sort of kick it into gear a bit more after the next international break. Because I think he'll want them. We've obviously got that mad run in November, haven't we, where we basically play every 3 days against someone good. Yeah. So I think he sort of wants to manage it to then, so he can. And I don't know what he's going to do then, but I sort of think he wants everyone on it at that point to a sort of semi-equal level. So we're all guessing ultimately, aren't we? But we'll find out a lot about the manager over the next sort of 3 months, I think, in terms of how he's going to do things.
Yeah, it's. I think Robertson comes in. I think that's an easy one. I think I'd probably do Canate again, and I'd hope that he gets through it, and I'd do Kwanzaa against West Ham. I think the forward line is interesting because after that performance, Gakpo was a legitimate shout to start, but I just hope that he doesn't start as the 9, as a means of getting him on the pitch, because he seems to love Diaz. Yeah, he seems to love Diaz. I think Diaz will probably play for that reason. But if Gakpo plays really well like that, and then you play him as a 9 and he's anonymous again, it's just going to kill him in it. So I think Nunes has got to have a start soon, no, hasn't he? And I think if it is
Wednesday.
But if his first start of the season is Carabao Cup against West Ham at home, it's borderline embarrassing, don't you think, for the player?
There is one thing I thought of.
That's what you trust me in. That's the extent of your trust.
There's one thing with him that I thought of, is that Klopp made a big point, the press conference before Forest, about a lot of players going away and getting 2 sets of 90 minutes, like Gakpo, for example. Like Nunes basically had one pre-season game where I think he played 60 or 70 minutes, and then he didn't get that international thing, so you don't know what his conditioning's like. He's sort of, under normal circumstances, he'd have gone away with Uruguay, he'd have played 2 games of football, and he'd have got himself up to a level. But because he hasn't done that, I don't know where he's at, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It feels like an alright opportunity to play him, but then at the same time, if you play him in this, you probably then play Jota on Wednesday against West Ham, which you probably don't want. So I don't know. It's interesting to see how he's going to do it.
Nice problem to have.
Yeah, it's luxury.
Even 5 years ago, we didn't have this problem.
No, it's definitely a nice problem to have. Yeah, I'll give you that one. But I think that one of the curious things for me with this whole conditioning thing and all that, and keeping players fit, is just keeping players happy alongside that. Like, that's not going to be easy. Like, did you see Virgil's post-match interview?
No, I'm not seeing it.
Have you anyone else seen it? Like,
no.
So he did a post-match interview with the likes of Frank Lampard and Seedorf, and Sturridge was there, and Seedorf asked him, like, what's important moving forward, and what's next type thing, and rather than just giving the cliche answer and saying like, we just need to keep it up, we need to keep winning games. He did that. He did a bit of a speech on like players who aren't getting picked. They need to make sure they're ready. But he was making a few and when he walked away, Lampard said that felt like a captain's message. And I was sat at home in agreement with that. So I'm not sure if there's been something, like Kwanzaa, for example, comes to mind as a player who played 45 minutes, come out, and he literally hasn't played a minute since, I don't think.
Yeah.
So he will be itching to get back in. Maybe it's a Kwanzaa thing, but it felt
I thought it was interesting that he did Gomez, not Bradley, for Trent. I thought that was interesting.
I thought that was well.
Yeah,
so I don't know what it is, but there was something about that interview for me that just suggested maybe someone's getting a bit itchy feet where they want more game time and they're not getting it or something, and they're going to have to get used to it because this fella seems different to Klopp when it comes to using his players.
Yeah. No, it was interesting. I'll have to check that out.
Look, finding it, I had a look around that Prime last night to try and A, watch highlights, B, watch any of the post-match. There's nothing there. You can basically watch the whole match and that's literally it.
BBC, Match of the Day highlights?
I only found that last night, by the way.
I watched...
Not on the iPlayer.
Website?
You can have the 3-minute sort of highlights.
Oh, you want a programme?
I basically just wanted, like... I was interested to just see the post-match stuff when I got back, and I looked last night and there was nothing there.
Have you seen Carragher talking to Trent? I mean, there's nothing about football.
No,
he talks about going to watch Oasis. Yeah, it's funny. Like, yeah. Trent's just laughing. He's like, "Oh, you going to see Oasis?" I don't know why that's come up, but he's like, "I'd quite like." He basically says, "I quite like them," but he's a bit like, "I'm a Liverpool player going to see Oasis." Like, is that very wise? And then he just sort of, and then he starts getting Carragher for going to everywhere. And then you had a big summer, and then he was saying he was probably Carragher was pissed in Monaco. I don't know if Trent drinks. If he does, he's probably not like stumbling around Carragher can, because Carragher's obviously retired. Trent at one point goes, "How old are you?" He goes, 46, and I'll still be going when I'm 86. And as anyone who's met Jamie's dad will know that is very much likely to be the case. Okay, well, I mean, I guess we'll leave it there. Any other business? Are we all going to Saturday?
Yeah,
we'll go to the game. Yeah, looking forward to it. Well, hopefully the Reds win. Hopefully we do the business. As I say, again, mentioned it at the start. Huge thanks to Green King for sponsoring us throughout the season. Get yourself down to a Green King pub. If you download Green King Sports app, 20% off all drinks while live sports on this weekend. So download the app. You can find your nearest pub and get down there and watch the football, the boxing, Formula 1, whatever it is you fancy. I just want to give a shout out as well if you come into any of our shows over the next week or so. We start on Monday night in Edinburgh. That's really close to selling out now. There might be a couple of tickets left. I think there was only 7 when I heard yesterday, so that might be close to selling out. But looking forward to seeing you. I'm speaking to Neil about the book at that one, and then we go on to Liverpool Beer Keller on Thursday night. There's still tickets available for that one, so that is a week today in terms of when this is sort of coming out. So there's still tickets available for that, so do come down and see us in Beer Keller. We've got a massive space. I know a lot of the contributors are coming down, probably a couple of people in the room, but I don't want to put them on the spot. We'll be sort of around to that as well. So it'll be, the first half will be, again, someone speaking to Neil about the book, and then the second half will be more of a traditional Anfield Wrap live event, so a live show type thing where a few of us will be getting up, including me. So looking forward to that. And then there's London at some point Tuesday. I'm not going to that, don't give a shit. But Martin Fitzgerald, I know I do actually, because Martin Fitzgerald's interviewing Neil. I'm gutted. Yeah, I bet he says he's got a surprise for him.
There's not many times I've wished I still lived in London.
I know. What a Tuesday night.
No.
Yeah, what a Tuesday night. So get yourself to that. There's still tickets available for that. I don't know where it is because, as I say, I'm not going. But Google it.
Somewhere, is it not West Central area?
It's just opened. In fact, I think we might
near
be
Oxford Circus.
I think we might be the first people on.
I think it's somewhere Oxford Circus.
It's only opened
from memory.
It's only opened in the last few weeks, and
sure, it'll be good anyway.
Yeah, it'll be great. Well, mine will be brilliant.
Yeah.
And as I say, he's got a surprise for Neil. So there's that, and then there's Anfield live thing. I know Dan Morgan's doing that. And then Friday nights we're in Belfast, and there's still a few left for that, but not many, I don't think. So do come and see us. By us, I mean I'm going over for that. There's music from Keogh on Friday nights as well, and then Keogh, Craig and Neil are getting the train to Birmingham straight to Wolves. I'm taking the fucking merch back.
I once saw Fitzgerald causing havoc trying to get into Parliament, by the way.
Maybe you'll tell that
he
story.
Put his bag through the scanner. I'll tell you, it's very quick. When he put his bag through the scanner and his bag had to get searched because he didn't like the shoehorn that was at the bottom, which is the most Martin Fitzgerald thing I reckon I've
100%. A man who carries a shoehorn with him. Yeah,
it was massive. It was probably about 7 inches long. It was a massive shoe. I thought shoehorns were little things like the size of a phone.
Yes.
And this was massive. Like you could basically put it up by your knee, the back of your knee, and slide it in. It was very odd.
That's going on as well. Also, quick shout out, we/I am doing the Kip on the Cop, which is what it sounds. You sleep overnight at Anfield to raise money and awareness of homelessness. So trying to, it doesn't obviously completely recreate it because it's in a sort of safe space, but it is having that feeling of sleeping rough effectively and being out in the elements and being on the cold and being on a half service. So I'm doing that, we're doing that. If you want to do Kip on the Cop, there are still spaces available to do that. They ask if you can try and raise £250, but don't be too put off by that. Just do your best. If that's what's putting you off, I would say just raise what you can, and no one's going to come round to your house chasing you for money or anything like that, because it's all going to homeless charities and it's all going to a good place. And so if you fancy doing that, and I'll be glad of the company. I was told very much firmly yesterday I can't take Ireland, which is a little bit of a shame. I don't know if you meant me specifically or just generally, but yeah, no. Ash is laughing. This happened in a meeting, didn't it? I was like, "Whoa, hang on!" But I've already signed up. It's fine. But no, we're going in. There's going to be stuff going on, sort of on the pitch and things like that. I know there is music. I think Keo's doing that again. Actually, busy man. But that is the international break this Saturday in October. So if you fancy doing it, there are still spaces. You can sign up. Google Kip on the Cop LFC Foundation. Like I say, just raise what you can. Just sort of throw it out there. And if you can get a few quid, it'll be made up. I'll be glad of the company. If you don't want to do it, you can sponsor us. If you just put Just Giving, search for the Anfield Wrap, you'll find our page, and we will be glad of sponsorship. I think that's everything.
Can I also do a quick charity plug? Is that okay? Josh and I are playing in a game on Sunday at Kirby at Liverpool's training ground for the Dan Kay Foundation. Yeah. People will know Dan and his work.
You could describe that as annual now, I think. Now it's the second one.
Yeah, it is. We played last year. We're playing again. I'm sure there will be photography and footage of us being awful online that you'll be able to see. But a foundation was set up in his name earlier this year called the Dan Kay Foundation, that does lots of very good different things to do with mental health. So it's like training in the workplace, different kinds of like fundraising and awareness events and stuff like that. So if you have a look, you could give some money if you would like, because it would be very greatly received.
And is it on your Twitter and things like that? Or how can people find it?
If you just search the Dan Kay Foundation on anything, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, then you will find it, and there's all links there. I think last year, before the foundation was set up, they raised 13 grand.
Wow.
Through different things. They do stuff like auctions. They have player shirts. There was a Nunes and a McAllister top that were going last year that they did a little auction for, that I think you could bid for online. There might be something like that. So it's worth checking, basically. Yeah. And give them money if you can.
Yeah. Have you been signed up to do Josh's running? Or
Yeah, you'll be doing my running.
Josh, me and Josh play sport together regularly. We're playing tennis today. We played footy together yesterday. Josh is very good at sports. But he constantly describes himself with the exact same turn of phrase as not having an engine, which always really makes me laugh.
That is my go-to phrase. Like,
you were in the car driving to footy last night.
Some of them players got an engine.
Yeah, I'm a classic late 90s number 10, to be honest. just carry me, mate.
But he will get played left wing on a weekend and will therefore have to track back. Yeah. And is already fuming because the lad who will pick the side knows Josh hasn't got an engine, has played footy with him.
It's very vocal.
It's still going to demand runs forward and back.
I might come watch.
Yeah, it'll be painful.
I think you can.
Yeah, I'll bring Ted.
Yeah, what is it again? The academy?
It's the training ground, the academy pitch, I think.
Yeah. There you know. Women play Sunday as well. Centella Stadium. I'll be going down to that 2:00. Liverpool v Leicester. If you want to go and watch the women's team start their new season in a brand new ground. Went last week to the friendly, and it's great. It's boss for kids and stuff like that. It's a really good setup at Centella. So if people want to get down to that, tickets are available. I don't think we can push anymore. So sorry, Phil, if you've got any.
I've got nothing.
Well, I mean, I've got a Substack, like, but... No,
yeah, download that. Up the Reds, nice one to Jamie for producing, and Ash for making us look beautiful if you are on YouTube. Up the Reds.